What's up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back. We get to talk to another one of the big guns from the bantamweight division, my favorite division. Adrian Yanez is coming up off a big win over Vinicius Salvador at a recent UFC Fight Night at the Apex in Las Vegas. Congrats, Adrian, on the win. It was really, really sharp. You first landed the hook, obviously. Well, no, sorry, it was an overhand right, and then some vicious ground and pound. How did that feel? Because yes, it was a 2-fight win streak. You probably heard that and you're sick of hearing it. It's over now. But more than anything, I looked at the calendar and it was 2 years. Like that's a long time, for someone to live with that. I can have a bad day at work and maybe tomorrow I have great interviews. I can shake it off. You guys, you fighters sometimes have to carry that for a while.
Yeah, man, it was weird because again, like 2 fights in a couple of years, like man, so like 2022 and 2023, like those whole 2 years, I only got 3 fights in, and I was like kind of really like bummed about that. The second, like the last fight, like the reason there was such a big layoff from that fight to this fight was injuries, of course. But before that, I was good to go, ready to go, and kind of like you know, sucked that I wasn't being active, so I kind of had to sit with those losses a little bit more. So, like yeah, like in the whole 2023, man, just wasn't a good year. So sitting with it like did not feel good whatsoever. It was it was like driving me crazy, because like especially after I had gotten injured in that Martinez fight, like I was just ready to go, ready to get up and start training, but I couldn't. I had restrictions because of like just getting out of surgery and all that stuff. But yeah, it was definitely uh it was definitely hard, but at the same time, with me like having to sit down and be injured, like kind of helped me get past, like I had to actually deal with like a lot of the stress of like not being able to fight. Had to sit down and actually like look and like make assessments of camp and like where my mind state was, my head space. Did I get too comfortable? I started having to ask myself like the hard, serious questions. And yeah, like it was a tough time, but honestly, at this point in time, like where I'm at right now, like I'm kind of glad it happened because like I'd rather it happen now uh than me fighting in a top 5 fight or in a title fight and it happening then and there. I'd rather it happen now so I can clear everything out. Like, okay, cool. Like this was what business, like I know how can now structure camps. Now I can now see like what I need to do. I know that I got too comfortable here. I can now notice little signs here and there to be like, all right, I can sense myself getting comfortable. I can sense myself getting complacent in a lot of these areas. And for me, I'm always glad it happened, but at the same time, it still sucks that it was only like 3 fights in like two full calendar years.
Great point about better now than in bigger fights, right?
hmm
Where they're higher profile and there's bigger stakes. And so I want to ask you a question because I saw an interview you did with Karen Bryant where you addressed that
hmm
you got too comfortable. Was that comfortable over the 2-year period? Or maybe I'm sure it ended after the second loss. But that's what I wanted to ask you was after the first loss, did you just feel like, oh, well, he caught me and you still kept comfortable? Or was it about then that you started addressing it and then just came up short against Martinez? Like you said, there was an injury.
Yeah, so I'll say like this, like my training partner, like I have like good thing for me, I have like training partners who like to hold me accountable. And I was thinking it was just all last year that it was like last year I just got too comfortable. They were telling me that like I got too comfortable going into that Tony Kelly fight because again I think a lot of people know this, but for the longest time I had like no head coaches, just me training with my training partners and me kind of running everything. And I was doing all the extra work of like film studying, breaking down, doing everything I can to make sure that like I would get to the fight or the fighters get to the fight and they'd be 100%, I'd be 100%. And yeah, it was really really tough. I kind of pulled myself back cuz I felt like I was doing so much that once I got coaches, I just kind of just like threw everything on their plate, and it was just like me not doing enough work. So like I'd say like around the Tony Kelly fight is whenever I started that kind of like dialing a lot back. I started getting complacent, even though I did all the work that was put in front of me. Like again, like I did all the work that was put in front of me. I just wasn't going home doing homework, doing the extra credit stuff, and that's the easiest way to describe it. Like if I'm like talking to anybody, it's like pretty much like schoolwork. Like again, like I did all the work in class, but my homework is the reason why I kept getting failing grades. So uh for me, like I knew that I had to start doing the extra, getting the extra credit, doing my homework, making sure that I dot on my I's and cross on my T's, and making sure that like I know that I'm I'm good. Because again, was walking into that Rob Font fight, even though I watched him a lot growing up in the sport, like again, he's like a really like one of my favorites. Uh like I like it was just one of those things where I could be uh I did everything physically possible, like in the sense of like I physically was in there. I was like the greatest shape I've ever been. Like I'll say I was in way better shape for that fawn fight than I was this fight. And like but mentally, like I think I was just still kind of like uh in a different headspace where I like still comfortable. Like even though like I physically felt physically better in that font fight than this fight I was more mentally prepared in that sense. And then the font fight, we can always chop it up, be like, oh, I got complacent, got caught, but I don't look at it like that. I look at it as like I did a lot of technical like I was did a lot of technical steps wrong, got my feet squared up against a guy you don't want to square up with, and I got caught. And I can everybody can always say that that's a fluke, but I never looked at it like that. And then even going into the Jonathan Martinez fight, like I did start doing a little bit more like drilling. We started like kind of changing things, but I felt like it was a little bit too late. Uh, it was a little bit too late, and like nobody's head was. Everybody's like kind of like I think it was like the overall basis of like the whole camp was just more like, nah, you just got caught in that font fight, like, and there wasn't no like holding the accountability. Like the only like my like two of my training partners are trying to keep me accountable, but like I had so many people around me like, nah, you just got caught. It is what it is. And yeah, and kind of paid the price for that in the Martinez fight. And then like this fight, like I knew, like especially right after the Martinez fight, right after I had the injury, that prolonged me to having to sit down and think, and like listening to the people around me that like were trying to hold me accountable. It's like, damn, like this is what we need to do. Because even then, I took a different approach for my training partners. Like, uh, even going into like my training partner Cameron Smother, who like really great training partner, holds me accountable for a lot. Even Rafion Stotts, uh, I started watching the guys that they were going to be fighting, because right after uh, I fought, he was Cameron Smotherman was fighting Mondo Gutierrez, and man, I'm like I went into a rabbit hole like right after I was able to get on crutches and not have to be on a machine for 8 hours of the day. Like I was on the computer just breaking down, sending him notes. I started making sure that like he knew what I was watching. I man was sad. Like I'd go up to the gym and watch the film with him and just be like, look, this is what I see. This is what I see. We do this and this, and man, we drilled a lot of the stuff. And I saw like the winning formula like 3 weeks out. Like we started drilling everything like 3 weeks before he threw that knee that little flying knee to the face that knocked him out. And then also the same thing with Stotts. Like didn't get to sit down and actually like review stuff with him, but we knew what Sabatello wanted to do, and ended up like everything just started falling into place. And I knew that's the approach I wanted to take for this next fight. Whenever I wanted to do everything right.
Adrian, so at the end of the fight, you scream, you let out this big yell, right? And you could just already tell things just looked different in you. Your attitude seemed a little different. Can you explain? You said never again. Can you explain all of the things that you feel like have changed for you to feel that way? And also, how long did it take for you to kind of come down from that high? Because you looked like you were fired up, man.
Yeah. So for me, like right after that fight, like I already knew, like again, in this whole camp, like I was like in this mode, in this headspace where like I'm gonna kill this guy, like I'm gonna fucking hurt this guy. And it did take me a second for me to like kind of realize where I was at. Uh like there's actually like I think UFC Espanol had put it up, but there's a clip of me like after the fight's finished, like the ref pulls me off, I'm walking around like during that whole time where I'm walking, like I like it's like it was like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde moment where it just was like oh shit, like I just did that. And then all of a sudden like the commissioner, the doctor lady comes up and checks on me, and I'm all smiles. But even then, like I was still like in this mode of like nah, like I gotta let Sean Shelby know that the last year's not happening again. Like I'm ready to get back in the mix, and like I'm ready to like beat somebody's ass. You know, I know they had to cut it off of ESPN because I started cussing a little bit, but yeah, I was It took a little bit for me to for me to even come down, but I still had the same mentality. This shit's never gonna and that it's never gonna happen again. Like I'm still in that mode. Like I immediately after the fight, I wanted to go back into the gym, but like I'm forcing myself to take the week off. Like this week, I was like, you know what, stay away from the gym. You need the time with your family. Uh, but you know, once next week hits, you're back in the gym because I'm ready to go. Hopefully I'm able to get a good spot on a good card. You know, I think that'd be dope. But at the same time, like for me, I still like I'm still kind of I guess riding high on it, but I'm still like in this mode. Like the work's not done. I'm not satisfied. I'm not finished. I want to keep going. Cool. I got the win. I knocked him out. But what's next?
You know, just based off of your personality, um, I just feel like, and not just that, but look, you're Adrian Yanez. Why can't you be on that Sphere card? I think that would be amazing. Although you might be the one guy that might get lost looking at the screen and how cool it is, because I know you like the game and all that, and probably thinking who can I play on this giant screen. But what would you think of being on a card like that? And is there anybody that in particular that you think would fit the mold to fight you on that card? Because we're all in, man. We were really excited with the last fight. We were all in before Anya, and it seems like you've turned a corner here.
Oh yeah, man. I'm super excited to see what's next, man. Fighting in the Sphere would be something I would want to do just because like I again most of my fights have been Apex fights. It's cool fighting at the Apex. It's again like it's one of those places where I feel comfortable at, but like getting the chance to fight at the Sphere would be really really dope just because like I from what they say it's going to be a one off and they go on and do something else, you know. And I would like to be a part of that card if it is just a one off. I wouldn't even care what placement I'd be on the card. I wouldn't care if I was the first fight, second fight, third fight, fourth fight. I wouldn't care. Like I would just want on the card. But yeah, I think it'd be dope. You know, I would just like to see how everything is set up. Is it going to be like a whole bunch of mini U's like around the screen, or is it just going to be like a whole one big old screen where everybody's watching you fight? Like that's the questions I have. Uh, but yeah, for me, honestly, I just want to get back in there. The Sphere, like if I get the Sphere, that'd be a dream come true. Like that would be absolutely amazing. But uh yeah, I don't know. Like, but like if I get a fight a little bit earlier, you know, I wouldn't mind watching it from the crowd either. So but but yeah, no, opponents that I have in mind, honestly, like I only got like a couple. Got like two guys called me out, but I'm only gonna call one of the guys out because the other guy has a fight coming up. And again, I don't like to do that. But Daniel Santos, I know he doesn't have a fight booked. I feel like that fight on the Sphere card would be amazing. And then also too, Victor Henry. This is honestly just because of like I like his style. Like I like his fighting style. Victor Henry, I think would be like a really good like fight for the fans. But if I'm trying to eke my way in and like trying to like somehow like squeak my way in to fight someone in the top 15, I feel like I would like to fight somebody like Figgy just because of the fact that like he fought Brandon Moreno a couple times and my mom's favorite fighter is Brandon Moreno. And I think, you know what, man, if I would be able to get a chance to fight Figgy, that would be pretty cool. If I can weasel my way in, you know, somehow, just somehow, I would love that. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. I can't even imagine what a fight like that would look like. But Hey, we're in Vegas, so we hear a lot about the Sphere. You might be safer in the cage because I hear every night people are throwing up just because of how weird that whole experience is, and
Oh
you
my
kind of go
gosh.
like straight up in the seating. So people say by the time they get to their seat and everything's going on, they're like they have to take
I hadn't heard that. Throwing
yeah, they have
up
to take
people?
a certain pill. Some people, yeah,
Oh
it's
no.
jacking people up. But it's
Oh
taking
no.
names, the Sphere, man. So you might be safer in the cage, but. Hey, so what about this though?
Mhm.
Are you a rematch guy? Are you a guy that like maybe further down the line, would you ever want to revisit some of the guys that you lost to, or do you just kind of like to
Oh,
move forward on that?
honestly, it's whoever. I was like whoever's name's on the dotted line. I'm like whoever's name I gotta sign, like sign off on. I'm gonna sign off on. Like I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it at all, man. Like a lot of these guys I lost to, there's like a couple guys who I can't fight. I can't get a rematch with because it was on the regional scene. But there's a couple guys who are in the UFC that I'd be able to get a rematch with. So I think that would be absolutely dope to get a fight with them. So yeah, like all my losses that the guys are in the UFC, we could run it back too. So I don't care. Like I would love.
Okay, so Adrian, I wanted to ask you a couple difficult questions here, just to
Okay.
challenge you a little bit, and maybe you can take doubt out of my mind. A lot of reporters or MMA media, whatever they call themselves, we're just fanboys that got lucky and have a cool show. But listen, a lot of people go, people will say, and they hide behind that. It's what they're wondering, right? So I'm
Yeah.
wondering this. I'll just tell you straight up, I'm wondering this. Um, when you were giving us the names, you didn't give us a top 15 guy until you gave us Figgy. And I like that, right?
Yeah.
For one, fans connect more with the,
Mhm.
the, the higher up you get, the bigger your profile. And I wanted to ask you a question. Was it because you're slowly inching your way back and getting your confidence? Because I figured you've tasted a little bit of the top 15 with
Mhm.
Font and Martinez. And even though the fights didn't go your way, still, you just said, I want to run them back. So you are showing me confidence in that answer. But um, do you feel like you still have room to grow? And that's why, there's other names you're more comfortable with before you got to Figgy?
No, no, honestly, no. It's honestly just in the sense of it's more in the sense of like I know I'm very harsh whenever I look at like my fights. Like I was in the top 15. I lost to both two top 15 guys. I feel like I have like the worker's mind like ethic in my head. Like, man, I did two wrongs. Now I got to make three rights. I got to go out there and like for every 5 steps back I got to take 10 steps forward in a sense. So I would like I'm more of a like I felt like I didn't deserve like especially with a guy like Salvador, like I deserve to fight a guy who's in the top 15 after knocking him out. You know, a guy coming up from 125, 0-2 in the UFC. Like, do I deserve to fight a guy that's right in the top 15? I don't think that really kind of like gives me a spot to even fight a guy that's in the top 15. Like, of course, I went out there and did what I'm supposed to do to him. Like, this is me objectively looking at it.
Yeah.
Like I think like a fight over Victor, like a win over Victor Henry, or like those guys, like one of the Basharat brothers, like Armin Zahabi, like all those guys. I think like getting a win over them. Like if it was them that I beat, like and I smashed and like knocked out, like yeah, of course I'd be asking for a guy in the top 15. But I don't feel like a name like Vinicius Salvador, like kind of like again, like there's no diss or like no like ill will or me trying to like bad name him or bad mouth him or anything like that. But it's more like that doesn't like I feel like that doesn't warrant me to fight a guy in the top 15. Even though I've been in the top 15, I just came off of two losses who were guys in the top 15. So like for me, like again, that's why I said like man, if I can weasel my way in and fight Figgy, that'd be fucking amazing. But I'm also kind of looking at it objectively. Am I gonna get a Figgy fight? Probably not. Am I gonna get like got like a Jose Aldo? No, I'm really not. Like if am I gonna get a pretty young? No, I'm not. So I would like to fight a guy in the top 15. Like don't get me wrong. Like if the name comes up and it's a top 15 guy, you're gonna tell me like there's a top 15 guy. You got Daniel Santos or Victor Henry. I'm gonna go for the top 15 guy every single time. Like I'm gonna go for that guy. But
Yeah.
objectively looking at it, like it's uh like the like am I gonna get that top 15 fight right now? How likely is it for me to get a fight in the top 15? And I feel like it's not as likely as fighting like someone like Victor Henry or Daniel Santos.
To what do you attribute the complacency from a few years back? you're a father, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
You're 30, so you're a mature dude, and you've got over 20 fights in the fight game. Was it the fame, a little comfortable with the money? What do you think? Did you ever pinpoint what it was? Because you have, I see you train with Diego Lopez.
Mhm.
That's a guy that's on fire.
Mhm.
Rafion Stotts has been a world champ. So what finally, I guess, zeroed you in, or who or what? And what do you think you attributed to that little spell you were in, I guess?
Oh man, I can point it out exactly. It's exactly whenever, like, again, it was it sounds bad, but it's whenever I got coaches. When I got coaches, like, again, being able to like pull back the workload that I was doing
Mm-hmm.
really kind of made me I guess in a sense, like, dial back. And when I dialed back too much. I was like, oh
Okay.
yeah, they got it. Like, man, film studying, okay, they got it. Like, oh, like, looking at fights, seeing how they're gonna break stuff, like, oh, they got it. Like, again, like, I stopped doing my extra credit. I stopped doing my homework that I got complacent at. Like, yeah, of course I want to get paid more. Of course, like, being a little having a little bit more notoriety in MMA, that that's all fine and dope. But again, I always know that those two things can always, like, snap it, like, can be gone in an instant, and it practically kind of did. Uh but yeah, no, like that, it's like, again, once I had coaches, it kind of like made me be like got me too complacent, and I just started doing work that was in front of me, and I stopped doing the extra work that I was doing, and I just really pulled myself back from what was getting me wins, and that was me doing my extra work, like, of course, the coaches are there to help you to get the win and all that stuff, but also as a fighter, like, you're the one that's going in there and fighting. You're the one that's organizing your camp. You can't just rely on everybody. They're tools to help you get to what you want. But at the same time, like, if you're not actively using the tools, or like again doing your homework, like, you're not going to get the passing grade. So for me, I got too complacent, just doing the work that was put in front of me and going home. That's where I got complacent at, for me.
No, that's a great answer, and it's very honest. So, all of us and fans, we go through that as well, so we can identify. Um, and just to clear up, did you sneak in there that Brandon Marino is one of your favorite fighters, or he's a friend of yours? So the Figgy thing, is it about? Well, first tell me that. Is he one of your favorite fighters? Is that what you said? I
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
hear that.
he's definitely one of my favorite fighters. He's also
Awesome.
one of my mom's top 5 favorite fighters. Like, I think
Very
top
cool.
3 and not 3 for sure.
Okay.
Like, so
So it's kind of avenging a guy you look up to, the Figgy
yeah,
call out or whatever
yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
That would be nice. Did that get a win from him? Get a win. Be able to go like, Mom, I can beat him too.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right, because he doesn't need any revenge. He actually got the best
Yeah,
of that little
yeah.
meta fights that they had. Yeah.
That would be really dope.
Hmm. I hope you get that one. That one would be
Me
cool.
too.
And I know you said you maybe feel like you're not in the spot to do it, but here's what happens. Let's say you go, I want to fight uh Davis and Figueredo. I'll knock him out, I'll sub him, whatever. If you win your next fight and he loses his next one, then all of a sudden
Oh yeah.
his stock kind of levels, you go up, and then all of a sudden you might have a fight. So it's never a bad thing for a fighter to forecast ahead, and put that out there. And guess who will use that snippet to promote the fight once it happens? The UFC's all over it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's absolutely true. I know for myself, like, it's always hard for me to look at, like, the what ifs, and like, oh, now this, like, like, especially when it comes to myself, I try to look as I try to be as I can, and especially even now, like, if I'm gonna call somebody out, like, I try not to look 2 fights ahead. I'm just like, all right, the fight, what's next? Who am I gonna get? What's the most likely person I'm gonna get? So it's hard. Again, it's hard for me to go like 2-3 fights down the line.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get a fight soon this summer. The UFC always keeps an active schedule,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sure you're probably staying in shape staying in shape, because that's the formula. If you're in shape and they call, you go, right.
Oh yeah.
But if not, I agree with my brother, man. You at the Sphere would be tight.
Oh man, that would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing. If they come back to Houston, I'd probably jump on the Houston card rather than the Sphere. That's probably the only thing I would jump over for the Sphere. That would be the only thing.
H-Town in the house. All right. Yeah, Adrian, it's always great to catch up with you, and hopefully we see you sometime soon again in Vegas. But if not, we'd love to chat with you once you have an opponent set and a date set, so we can preview that fight once you've gone through your camp and everything.
Oh hell yeah, man! Thank y'all so much for having me on.